Baby on board. Katie Bates and Travis Clark's exclusive pregnancy announcement. It began quietly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice. In the middle of everyday laughter, shared family dinners, and the endless joy of togetherness that always surrounded the Bates home, something inside Katie started to change. No one could see it, not even Travis, but she felt it. A strange mix of exhaustion, emotion, and tenderness that made her heart race for reasons she couldn't explain. Days passed and life went on as usual. The Bates family gathered for birthdays, shared prayers, and weekend visits. Katie smiled through it all, but sometimes in the quiet corners of her room, she would pause and hold her breath, wondering if life was trying to whisper something new to her. One morning, as the early sunlight filtered through her window, she sat on the edge of her bed, a small white stick trembling in her hands. It was one of those moments where time seemed to stop. The faint blue line appeared, soft, undeniable, life-changing. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it echo inside her chest. She didn't cry. Not at first. She just sat there, frozen between disbelief and wonder. She whispered a silent prayer, asking for strength, for clarity, for peace. Because in that single moment she knew, her life, their life, would never be the same again. Travis found her later that morning. Her eyes were wet, but she was smiling through the tears. He didn't need words. He understood before she even spoke. His arms wrapped around her, and the room filled with the kind of silence that only comes when love meets destiny. Outside, the world was calm, birds singing, the wind brushing through the trees, as if even nature had paused to honor that sacred instant. Inside, two hearts beat with a new rhythm. A rhythm of hope, fear, and the promise of something extraordinary. What started as an ordinary morning was now the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Katie and Travis, once just husband and wife, were about to become something even deeper. Parents. But they had no idea how much this tiny heartbeat would change everything. Not just for them, but for the entire Bates family. The next few days moved slowly, as if time itself was hesitant to disturb the quiet joy that had settled in Katie's heart. She and Travis had decided to keep the news between them for a little while, just to let it sink in, to let it feel real. Every night they would talk softly under the dim light of their room, imagining what their baby might look like, what kind of parents they wanted to be. But secrets have a way of showing themselves, even when hearts are trying to hold them close. Katie's smile was softer now, her eyes more tender. Her family noticed it. The calm glow, the way she rested her hands near her stomach without even realizing it. It was Carlin who first sensed something different. During a quiet afternoon at her parents' house, she watched Katie laugh with the younger siblings, then pause and sit down, one hand gently over her heart. Carlin didn't say a word then, but later that night, she sent Katie a simple text. "I don't know what it is, but your smile feels different. Tell me if I'm right." Katie stared at her phone for a long time before replying with just one emoji. A tiny heart. Within minutes, her phone buzzed with a call. Carlin's voice trembled with excitement and tears all at once. "Katie, are you?" Katie couldn't speak. She just laughed softly, crying at the same time. That laugh was enough. Carlin screamed, then cried harder, saying, "Oh my gosh, Mom and Dad are going to be so happy." The next day, the house was filled with warmth and whispers. Kelly Jo's heart nearly stopped when she heard the news. For a moment, she just looked at her daughter, the same girl she once held in her arms, now about to become a mother herself. Tears filled her eyes as she hugged Katie, whispering a prayer of thanks. Gil, always the strong and steady father, stood back with a proud smile, but even he had to wipe his eyes when he saw his little girl glowing with new life. Soon the word spread through the family group chat. Messages pouring in from every sibling, filled with heart emojis, excited voice notes, and joyful tears. The Bates home was alive again with celebration, laughter, and love. Aaron started making plans for baby clothes. Alyssa offered to fly in for a visit. Even the younger ones began arguing about what they wanted to name the baby. That night, Katie sat by the window again watching the stars. The house was quiet now, but her heart was full of gratitude, full of hope. She whispered softly to herself, "You're already so loved, little one. So loved." Travis came behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. They didn't say much, they didn't need to. Outside, the moonlight touched the edge of the window, and for the first time, Katie felt what every mother must feel when life begins to grow inside her. An overwhelming peace mixed with trembling wonder. But even in that peace there was something else, a sense that not everything would be easy. The world was about to change for them, in ways they couldn't yet see. The news had brought happiness, but it would soon test their hearts more than ever before. The first few weeks after the news were filled with nothing but light. Every morning felt like a fresh promise, every heartbeat a quiet song of gratitude. Katie woke up smiling, dreaming about baby names, nursery colors, and little clothes that would soon fill her drawers. Travis was constantly at her side, protective, gentle, always making sure she didn't lift anything heavy or skip a meal. But as the days turned into weeks, that warm glow slowly started to fade. The mornings began to feel heavier. Katie often woke up dizzy, her stomach twisting in sharp pain. At first she told no one. She didn't want to worry her family. She tried to hide it behind her usual bright smile, pretending that everything was fine. But Travis could see it. He saw it in the way she moved slower, the way her laughter would stop mid-sentence, replaced by a quiet wince. One evening, as the rain softly tapped against the window, Katie sat on the couch, her hands trembling slightly. She didn't want to say it out loud, but the fear had already settled deep inside her. She whispered, "Travis, something doesn't feel right." His face turned pale. Within minutes they were in the car, rushing through the rain toward the clinic. The silence between them was deafening, the kind of silence filled with unspoken prayers. Katie held his hand so tightly that her nails left marks in his skin. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic and cold air. She sat there watching the clock tick, every second stretching into eternity. When the nurse finally called her name, she felt her heart drop to her stomach. Inside the examination room, the doctor spoke gently, his eyes kind but serious. The ultrasound screen flickered to life, showing that tiny miracle, a small blinking light. It was there. It was real. But the doctor's tone shifted slightly, softer, more cautious. "There's a heartbeat," he said, "but it's very early and we need to monitor closely. Sometimes early pregnancies can be delicate." Katie nodded, trying to understand every word. But her mind was already spinning. Delicate, fragile, uncertain. Words she never wanted to hear associated with her baby. On the drive home, neither of them spoke much. The city lights blurred outside the car window, tears filling her eyes as she rested her head against the seat. Travis reached over and took her hand again, the same way he had when they first saw that positive test. At home, the Bates family waited for news. When Katie finally walked through the door, her mother's eyes searched her face. One look was enough. Kelly Jo rushed to her side, wrapping her in her arms before Katie could even speak. Between broken words and tears, Katie whispered, "They said the baby's heartbeat is weak. They said it's too early to know." The room fell silent. No one dared to breathe for a moment. Then slowly, Erin knelt beside her and took her hands. "Then we'll pray," she said softly. "We'll all pray." That night, the entire Bates family gathered in their living room. The same space that had once echoed with laughter now filled with quiet sobs and whispered prayers. Every heart bowed, every voice trembling with hope and fear tangled together. Katie sat in the middle, surrounded by her family, the people who had always believed that faith could hold you when nothing else could. She closed her eyes, her tears falling freely, whispering, "Please God, just let me hold my baby. Just let me hold them once." Outside, the storm that had been raging all day began to fade. The rain slowed, the thunder softened. Somewhere in the night, Katie felt something. Not a sound, not a touch, but a calmness deep inside her. A reminder that love, even in fear, was still strong enough to keep her going. For now the baby was still there. Still fighting. Still part of her. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear. This tiny life had already changed everything. The weeks that followed were nothing like Katie or Travis had imagined. Every morning brought new challenges. Nausea that wouldn't end, dizzy spells that sent her hands trembling, and moments when she felt as if the weight of the world rested solely on her shoulders. Travis never left her side, even for a second. He cooked, cleaned, held her hair back when she was sick, whispered words of love and reassurance when tears rolled down her cheeks. But even his unwavering strength couldn't erase the fear that gnawed at them both. The Bates household, normally overflowing with laughter and chatter, grew quieter. Everyone sensed the tension, the fragility of the new life inside Katie. Kelly Jo visited daily, bringing warm meals and soft words of comfort. Gil, usually calm and stoic, sat for hours beside Katie, holding her hand as she slept, silently praying with every fiber of his being. One morning, Katie woke to sharp cramps that made her double over in pain. Travis rushed her to the hospital again, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. In the waiting room, surrounded by the cold hum of fluorescent lights and the distant murmur of other families, he felt helpless in a way he never had before. The doctor came in, his expression serious yet gentle. "Katie, the baby is still there, but it's very fragile. We have to monitor closely, and there may be complications. You need to rest completely and avoid stress. Every small thing matters now." Katie nodded, her lips trembling. Fear clawed at her chest, but she refused to let it win. She thought of the tiny heartbeat she had first seen weeks ago, of the possibility of a new life that had already changed everything in her world. Back home, the family did everything they could to support her. Carlin and Alyssa prepared warm meals, cleaned the house, and took turns sitting with her, chatting softly to distract her from the fear that sometimes consumed her. Even the younger siblings would sneak into her room with little drawings and notes saying, "We love you, baby," or "Can't wait to meet you." Despite the love surrounding her, the nights were the hardest. Lying awake in bed, Katie often stared at the ceiling, clutching her stomach, trembling with uncertainty. Travis would hold her, rocking her gently, whispering, "You're stronger than you know. We'll get through this. We'll fight for them together." It was during one of these nights that Katie realized something profound. Fear would always be there, lingering at the edges of joy. But love, the kind she felt from Travis, her family, and the life growing inside her, was stronger. It was patient, it was fierce, it was unshakable. And for that she could hold on. Yet, even as hope grew, the reality of fragility remained. The doctor's warnings echoed in their minds, the unpredictability of life pressing heavily on their hearts. Every appointment, every ultrasound, every quiet moment brought both relief and terror. The family, bound together as they always were, learned to navigate the tension between hope and fear. Laughter returned in small doses, soft chuckles, whispered jokes, the way Katie's siblings would sneak in to make her smile. But the weight of uncertainty lingered like a shadow over their home. And through it all, Katie remained the quiet center of it all, fragile, yet unwavering. Every time she looked at Travis, she saw love mirrored in his eyes, and it gave her courage. Every time she felt a flutter inside her belly, a tiny kick, a heartbeat against her palm, she was reminded that life, no matter how uncertain, was still miraculous. The days stretched into weeks, the struggle deepened, and the emotional toll on the Bates family grew heavier. Yet through tears, fear, and sleepless nights, one thing never wavered: the unbreakable bond of love that held them together, carrying them toward the unknown future with hope and resilience. The tension in the Bates household had become almost palpable. Each morning, Katie woke with a flutter of hope and an undercurrent of dread. Every sound, every sudden movement, every minor ache became a reminder that life was delicate, that the small heartbeat inside her carried the weight of immeasurable love and unspoken fear. One afternoon, as the sun poured softly through the windows, Katie felt a sudden sharp pain unlike anything before. It stopped her in her tracks. Travis, already alert from the past weeks of struggle, rushed to her side. His hand clutched hers tightly, grounding her in the moment, anchoring her to the world outside, the fear swirling in her mind. At the hospital, the doctors were calm but serious. Ultrasounds were repeated, monitors checked, charts updated. Katie lay on the examination table, trembling, her fingers entwined with Travis's. The room was silent except for the faint hum of machines and the steady, fragile heartbeat on the screen. And then came the words they had been fearing but also hoping to hear. "The baby is still with us. The heartbeat is strong. We need to continue monitoring, but this is very good news." Relief washed over them in a tidal wave. Tears streaming down both their faces, silent sobs that spoke louder than words ever could. Travis held Katie close, whispering, "See? You're doing it. We're doing it. They're going to be okay." Back home, the news spread through the family like sunlight breaking through clouds. Kelly Jo and Gil embraced Katie with overwhelming emotion. Tears, laughter, prayers spilling freely in a mixture of joy and lingering fear. Each sibling rushed to her side, offering hugs, whispered encouragement, and an outpouring of love that wrapped around Katie like a protective shield. Carlin whispered softly, "This little one already has the strongest family in the world." Alyssa, her voice thick with emotion, added, "Every day you've held on, Katie. You've shown what it means to fight for life." Even the youngest siblings, though unsure of everything, could feel the shift. Their laughter returned, shy but full of hope, tiny hands leaving handprints of love and innocence in the spaces around Katie. The house once again echoed with life, not the carefree, ordinary laughter of before, but laughter filled with triumph, resilience, and the weight of shared struggle. But in quiet moments, Katie would sit alone, tracing the curve of her growing belly, thinking about the fragility of life and the uncertainty of the journey ahead. The battle was not over. There would be more fear, more sleepless nights, and challenges yet unseen. But for the first time in weeks, hope no longer wavered at the edge. In the soft glow of evening, Travis sat beside her, holding her hand, eyes filled with a mixture of awe and reverence. He whispered, "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Every kick, every heartbeat, every tear, we'll face it together." And Katie believed him. For the first time, she truly believed that love, fierce, patient, unyielding, could carry them through anything. That the tiny life growing inside her, once fragile and uncertain, was now a symbol of resilience, courage, and the unwavering strength of family. Outside, the stars shone with quiet brilliance, a mirror to the fragile light of life that had survived the storm. Inside, the Bates family held each other close, hearts beating as one, bracing for the journey ahead, yet ready to embrace every challenge with hope, faith, and unshakable love. As the weeks passed, Katie's pregnancy became a quiet rhythm in the Bates household, a rhythm both tender and tense, filled with hope and the shadow of fear. Each day was measured by small victories, a healthy heartbeat, a strong ultrasound, a day without pain. But each night brought its own kind of waiting, a quiet vigil where prayers and whispers filled the dark corners of their home. Katie often sat by the window in the early mornings, her hands resting gently over her belly, feeling the tiny movements that reminded her she was not alone. Every flutter, every small kick, brought a mixture of awe and terror, the miracle of life intertwined with the fragile reality of her journey. Travis stayed close, holding her hand, brushing away stray hairs from her face, whispering words she clung to like lifelines. The family, fully aware of how delicate the situation was, surrounded her with love and vigilance. Kelly Joe prepared meals with extra care, making sure Katie ate enough and rested. Gil monitored everything quietly, his steady presence a calm reassurance to a family otherwise on edge. Siblings came and went, offering laughter, songs, prayers, and stories to keep Katie's mind light, though the weight of worry never fully lifted. Then came a night unlike any other. Katie woke in the middle of the night to sharp pain that took her breath away. Travis was instantly alert, panic flashing in his eyes, but he kept calm, speaking to her gently as he helped her to the car. The drive to the hospital was long and quiet, filled with tense prayers and unspoken fears. Each red light, each passing car felt like an eternity. At the hospital, they were led to a room where silence hung heavy. The doctor's voice, calm but grave, broke through the tension. "Katie, we need to monitor very closely tonight. It's critical that she remains stable. We're doing everything we can." Travis held her hand so tightly that Katie felt the strength of his promise. They would face this together. She wanted to cry, to scream, to release the fear clawing at her chest, but she held on, focusing on the tiny life inside her, on the faint but steady heartbeat on the monitor. Hours stretched into what felt like days. Katie lay with her eyes closed, Travis beside her, the hum of machines filling the room like a fragile lullaby. Family messages poured in, Carlin and Alyssa sending continuous prayers, notes, and words of encouragement, each one a tether to hope. In those long hours, Katie realized the truth of life's fragility. Every movement, every heartbeat was a victory. Every tear, every whispered prayer, was a testament to love's endurance. The moments of fear were sharp and heavy, but the love surrounding her was stronger, holding her steady, reminding her she was never alone. By dawn, the storm inside her had eased. The heartbeat was still there, strong and persistent, a small but undeniable miracle. Travis leaned over her, brushing tears from her cheeks, whispering, "We made it through another night. They're strong, Katie, you're strong." And in that quiet moment Katie felt it, the immense weight of fear and the immense beauty of life intertwined. The journey was far from over, but the miracle had held. Their little one had survived the night, and with it, the family's hope had been renewed. The house, once again, awoke with soft whispers, quiet laughter, and small celebrations. Every hug, every gentle touch, was a reaffirmation that they were a family bound not just by blood, but by love, faith, and the courage to face the unknown together. Katie closed her eyes, resting her head against Travis's chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her ear. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Keep going, we're with you. We'll never leave you." Outside, the morning sun rose slowly, casting a warm golden glow over the Bates home. And for the first time in weeks, hope was no longer fragile. It was tangible, living, breathing alongside them, carrying them toward the promise of new life, new joy, and the future they had dared to dream of. The final weeks of Katie's pregnancy were a delicate balance between excitement and fear. Every day brought a new sensation, a new reminder that life was growing within her. Tiny flutters, stretches, even hiccups she could feel beneath her hands. But alongside these moments of wonder lingered anxiety. The memory of past struggles weighed heavily on every smile, every step, every gentle touch. Travis never left her side. Every morning he would bring her coffee, sit with her as she rested, and whisper reassurances even when his own heart was anxious. Their bond deepened in ways that only hardship can create. Love had been tested before, but now it shone brighter than ever, fierce and unwavering. The family rallied around her with unwavering devotion. Kelly, Joe, and Gil seemed to anticipate every need, preparing meals, rearranging the house, ensuring Katie could rest without worry. Carlin and Alyssa were her constant companions, offering encouragement, laughter, and gentle distractions. Even the younger siblings learned to tiptoe around her room, leaving little notes of love and promises of the adventures they would have with the new baby. One night, the ache of anticipation became almost unbearable. Katie sat in her bedroom, her hands resting on her swollen belly, eyes closed, tears slipping down her cheeks. Travis knelt beside her, holding her hands and murmuring words that felt like a lifeline. "We're almost there, Katie. Just a little longer. We're almost there." Sleep came in short bursts, broken by dreams filled with joy and fear alike. Every movement of the baby reminded her that this little life had endured so much already, and yet, it was persistent, strong, miraculous. Then came the day when Katie felt the unmistakable signs, the first contractions. Gentle at first, but growing steadily stronger. She looked at Travis, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. He squeezed her hand and said, "It's time. We've waited so long. And we're ready." The drive to the hospital was quiet, but heavy with anticipation. Neither spoke much. Words felt unnecessary. Their hearts communicated more than any sentence could. Upon arrival, nurses and doctors prepared them with calm efficiency. Yet Katie could feel the electricity of the moment, the profound significance of the life that was about to enter the world. Hours passed in a blur of pain, sweat, tears, and whispered prayers. Travis never left her side, holding her hand through every contraction, whispering love and courage into her ear. Kelly, Joe, and Gil paced outside the delivery room, hearts pounding with every sound, every cry, every shift of the door. Siblings hovered nearby, each sending silent prayers, holding hands in hope, trying to remain strong even as their own emotions threatened to overwhelm them. And then, after what felt like an eternity, the moment arrived. The cries of a newborn filled the room, piercing and beautiful, a sound that made every heart in the house leap with pure, uncontainable joy. Tears streamed down Katie's face as Travis held the baby close, their tiny body warm and real in his arms. "We did it," Katie whispered, her voice trembling. "We did it." The baby's cries were joined by the soft sobs of the family outside, the whispered prayers of gratitude, the laughter of relief, and the unspoken bond of shared love that had carried them through every fear and struggle. Kelly, Joe finally entered, holding Katie's hand, her eyes full of tears and pride. Gil hugged Travis tightly, whispering words that spoke volumes without needing detail. The siblings crowded around, each wanting a glimpse, each wanting to hold, each wanting to welcome this new life that had already changed their world. In that moment, the struggles, the fear, the long nights, and the quiet tears all made sense. Life, fragile and miraculous, had won. Hope, unyielding and persistent, had been rewarded, and the love that had carried them through everything was stronger than ever, binding the family together in a circle of joy, gratitude, and profound wonder. Katie held the baby to her chest, feeling the tiny heartbeat merge with her own. Travis kissed her forehead, whispering softly, "Welcome to the world, little one. You are so loved. So loved." Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, casting warm golden light across the hospital grounds. Inside, hearts beat together. Family, love, faith, and life intertwined. The journey had been long, painful, and uncertain, but it had led them here, to a moment of perfect, indescribable joy. For the Bates family, this was not just a new chapter. It was a testament to resilience, hope, and the enduring power of love that could carry them through anything. A love strong enough to embrace the fragility of life and celebrate its miracle. The house was quiet now, but it wasn't the silence of emptiness. It was the gentle, profound calm that follows storms, a calm filled with relief, love, and the kind of peace that only comes after surviving fear together. Katie sat in the rocking chair, the baby cradled tenderly in her arms, feeling the tiny breaths, the small movements, the heartbeat that had fought so fiercely to arrive in this world. Travis knelt beside her, holding her hand, their fingers intertwined, grounding one another after everything they had endured. His eyes, still rimmed with tears, reflected awe and gratitude, for Katie, for their baby, and for the family that had never let them face any of it alone. The siblings gathered slowly around them, some leaning in to catch a glimpse of the tiny miracle, others softly whispering their love and promises of protection. Carlin gently brushed a strand of hair from Katie's face, whispering, "They're perfect, Katie. Just perfect." Alyssa nodded, tears streaming silently down her cheeks, her hand resting on the baby's blanket, as if willing all the love in the world into that small, fragile body. Kelly, Joe, and Gil stood close by, their hands clasped, hearts overflowing, and faces shining with a mixture of pride, relief, and gratitude that no words could fully capture. Katie looked down at the baby, feeling the warmth, the tiny fingers curling around hers. She whispered softly, "You fought so hard to be here. And look at you. You made it. You're finally here." The baby stirred, tiny eyes blinking, reaching out instinctively, and in that small gesture, Katie felt the culmination of every prayer, every tear, every sleepless night. Every moment of fear had led to this. A new life, resilient and radiant, born into a family that loved fiercely enough to carry them through the darkness. Travis leaned his forehead against hers, voice thick with emotion. "We did it, Katie. We survived. They survived. And now we start the rest of our lives together, as a family." Outside, the sun poured its light through the windows, bathing the room in warmth. The world felt bigger, brighter, and softer all at once. Every struggle, every moment of doubt, every tear had led to this. A beginning that was fragile, yet unstoppable. The Bates family, united in love, gathered close. Laughter mingled with quiet tears, whispers of wonder filled the air, and the room pulsed with the intangible but undeniable heartbeat of home. Katie looked around at the faces of her parents, her siblings, and finally at Travis, and she realized that love, unyielding, patient, and strong, had carried them here. She kissed her baby's tiny forehead and whispered, "Welcome to our world, little one. You are loved beyond measure. You were worth every tear, every prayer, every fearful night." In that moment, every fear dissolved. Every struggle became a memory of strength. Every tear shed had been a thread in the tapestry of love that held them together. The house hummed with life, the air shimmered with hope, and in the heart of the Bates family, a new chapter had begun. Fragile yet fearless, quiet yet powerful, ordinary yet miraculous. And so, in the midst of love, faith, and unspoken gratitude, Katie, Travis, and their new baby, cradled by a family who had waited, prayed, and loved without end, stepped into the world of beginnings, where every heartbeat was a reminder that life, no matter how fragile, was always worth fighting for. The story of fear, hope, and unwavering love had reached its crescendo, but the journey of family, joy, and miracles had only just begun.